Alrighty, welcome back to the road to the Great Canadian Open Winter 2026. I'm on vacation, but I have a bit of time between now and dinner, and I thought I'd take a moment to make some content just to keep the channel going. I hope you've enjoyed the series so far, up to video 8. 1 week in, models are painted. Want to get back, definitely will get some basing, but in the meantime, I can still talk song with you guys. So I actually made a series of videos way back, collaborated with a lot of people to do these kind of tier lists. So that's the thing I'm doing today is tier listing the Brotherhood Without Banners base deck. I never published, unfortunately, those set of videos, only because as soon as I made them, a new update dropped, which made my videos more or less invalid. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to go back and give you my thoughts on the Brotherhood Without Banners cards. Just so you know, I'm not an expert on the faction by any stretch of the imagination. I have played with them a little bit, so I think it might be neat for me to talk about my thoughts at the beginning of my journey using them, and then maybe I'll come back at the end and rejig where I think these cards should go. Now, how I'm going to place these cards is from the context of these are cards that in my opening hand I would keep past round 1 versus cards that I go not good right now, so I should discard them. I think for a lot of new players in Song, part of the problem with new players is that they don't know how powerful their cards are because they don't have experience. So they tend to just keep their hand, and it stops them from digging deeper into their deck for a card that might be better later on. So almost every card is useful in general at some point in the game, but you don't necessarily want them in the beginning, and some cards you don't want at the end. So let's take a look at the Brotherhood Without Banners deck and see where I think the cards go. So let's take a look here again. I've played a little bit, so again, I'm not an expert, but let's see what I think about. I need to change the way these cards look. No crop. There we go. It's much better. Okay, sick. Let's start with Azora High. All right, so I'm just gonna read the card for now, and then we'll see where I place it. So, when a friendly unit is performing a panic test after rolling dice, that unit can only suffer a maximum of 1 wound from failing the test. If it targets your commander's unit, it passes this test instead, and all enemies engaged with it become weakened. So I already kind of know this card from playing Baratheons. This is from Stannis 2. Auto-passing panic or only suffering 1 wound is, generally speaking, a very strong ability. I definitely would not discard this after round 1. And depending into certain opponents, if you're playing into Lannisters, Boltons, even Martells, who have ways to lower your leadership, into maybe Targaryens who have dragons and stuff, this card can be very, very clutch. So in some matchups, I would say it's a definite keep. And into any matchup, I would say that this is at least a maybe, because we all take panic tests. And you're going to need this card to help you pass. Some of your guys, like the peasants, aren't great morale. So I'm really feeling like this is either top of maybe keep past round 1. Like, you should probably keep this round 1, but not necessarily. Into you should definitely keep it. So I think for now I'm going to put in keep. I don't know if it's the best card that you should definitely keep, but I'm going to put in keep for now and see where the rest goes. All right, the next card is But the Realm Remains. What does this card do? So I don't even know necessarily. Start of any turn, target 1 friendly combat unit and attach this card to them until the end of the game. Each time a friendly infantry or cavalry unit is destroyed, place 1 order token on this card. So it sounds like this is a revenge card. A quest card, as some people call it, meaning you put it down, and then when something happens, i.e. a friendly unit dies, you put a token on and things happen. What do you get? At the start of friendly turn, you may remove an order token from this card. If you do, restore 3 wounds. That's pretty good. While this card has an order token, you cannot gain condition tokens. That's actually very, very strong. Not being able to gain condition tokens is very, very strong. So this card's very good. The thing is, though, in a tier list, you would never keep this past round 1 because you'd always play it. So this kind of is like it's not a discard. It's not a maybe keep. You will always use it. So I'm going to put it in the green section just because it is a good card, and this kind of measures the weight of how good cards are in a certain way. But again, you'd never really keep it past round 1 because you'd always play it during round 1 to get it out of your hand. So I'm going to put it here, and it's going to probably go at the end just to show that it's good, but not really good because it's just played by default. All right, next card is the Forgotten Fellowship. Start of any round, target 1 friendly combat unit. It performs 1 march or retreat action, then becomes weakened. So would you keep this card past round one? Like if you get it round one, you would probably just use it, right? So would you keep it past round one into round two? Now, as I mentioned, as a non-expert, if you think you know of a better use for a card, please comment below and let me know. I'd love to learn from other people who've got more experience than I do. So, marching is very strong. Retreating is very strong. If you retreat and like your opponent engaged you, for example, right? Unfortunately, again, the context of these cards is, would you keep it past round one? You're very unlikely to be in combat at the end of round one, so you're not likely to use it for the retreat function. It could happen. If you're playing Banners and Butchery, if you're playing one of those 18-inch deployments, you could be in combat round one, so maybe that card's good. And what's interesting is, if you have this card in your hand, and you could be in combat round one, because it's one of those missions where you start close and people may play very aggressively, you can have this in your back pocket to know that I can retreat at the start of round two and then do something cool, right? So I do see some use for it there. Becoming weakened, of course, generally sucks, but I'm thinking about, what if I march archers, into your flank, and then I take a shot, or if you would never activate as your first action, you'd almost always take the board. So I was thinking of using Hot Pie in some way, but that wouldn't really work because you would never take the activation on the board first, unless the shot was so critical. But again, we're talking about context of round one, so that wouldn't be the case. So it's tough. I would generally say I think this is definitely going in the maybe section. If you have a plan for it, this card can be very, very good. Movement is good. Movement wins games. Movement gets you on objectives where people wouldn't expect you to. So let's put it in the maybe section for now. It depends on your build. It depends on the enemy. So there's a lot of maybes, I think. It might go lower on the maybe section. It could be a discard if you don't have the build and you don't have the opponent for it. But I think we'll keep it here and might go towards the further end. We'll see. Okay, next card is Knights of the Hollow Hill. When a friendly combat unit is targeted by an enemy ability or tactics card, this unit performs a morale test. On a success, cancels the effect of that ability or tactics card. Then the unit may maneuver 3 inches. This card, I think, sounds just amazing. It just sounds like it should go right to the top. It sounds like you can cancel abilities that you're targeted with. So if people target you with Hear Me Roar. And there's also a lot of weird orders that strangely target you that you wouldn't think to. Like, I believe Resilience targets you, Shield Wall targets you. So even though those are defensive abilities that you think that defensive units only play on themselves, if you're attacking them, I believe those orders target you because you are mentioned in the trigger text. I think the attacker is mentioned in the trigger text, so you actually get to use it. So you can actually cancel really powerful abilities like Shield Wall and Resilience. And then you also get a 3-inch maneuver, which is also huge because it means you get to pivot around. So that card sounds incredibly powerful. You should definitely keep that, I think, past round one. All right, next we've got Regroup and Reform. So Regroup and Reform, again, a classic free folk card. Start a friendly turn, target 2 friendly infantry units in long range of each other. Remove up to 4 models from one of these units. Restore that many wounds to the other. So you get to shuffle wounds around, in other words. You may then move attachments from one unit to the other, or switch. So you can also move around your attachments. This card is good, and I think this is actually one of the cards that give the Brotherhood without Banners their identity of healing, because you can have an extra 4-point peasant unit that's hiding in the back, and then you can shift 4 wounds from there into a more elite unit. If you can turn 4 peasants into 4 Kingsguard or 4 Gold Company Swordsmen, that's very, very good. It's a huge upgrade. The problem is, again, the context is it good going into round 2 from round 1? And generally speaking, my experience is most people are not fighting round 2 right away. So my gut says you actually want to discard this. You probably don't want to keep this right away. You want this card later on, but in your opening hand, it's probably dead weight. Again, the only situation where you keep it is if you're playing into a very aggressive scenario or into a very aggressive opponent who you know is going to fight you round 2. But I find that the fight tends to happen at the end of round 2 and become explosive round 3. Something like a charge at the end of round 2 into a sword action round 3. So my gut says you want to discard this for round 1 to look for something better. Then we got Sudden Retreat. Sudden Retreat, after a complete enemy completes a melee attack, target the defender, they perform one retreat action. If you target the commander's unit, you can reroll the dice. So similar to Regroup and Reform, actions are very powerful. Generally speaking, people tend to measure how many actions do you take is how efficient your list is. That's why Cav is very popular, for example. But similar to Regroup and Reform, Sudden Retreat is only good if you're thinking you're going to get into combat. So again, round 3, round 4, round 5, great card, free action, get me out of jail, free card, sounds great. But round 1 into round 2, I don't suspect I'm going to use it round 2 anytime soon, because it's still a positioning game generally round 2. So I think you should discard it, similar to Regroup and Reform. Now, is it better or worse than Regroup and Reform? I would say it's worse. Regroup and Reform, maybe you can use if someone crown zaps you, something like that. I think it's worse, generally speaking. Again, a good card, just not round 1 to round 2. And the last card we have, Take Up the Sword. So Take Up the Sword, when the friendly combat unit activates, that unit performs one morale test. On success, choose one. It restores a wound, plus 1 wound for each additional rank, so it's a healing card. Or target one enemy combat unit in long range. It becomes panicked and weakened. Oh, that's pretty good. I would say, because it can throw out condition tokens, you want to keep this card. So I'm going to say this actually, you can probably get within 12 inches at some point. So I'm going to put this card up here after But the Realm Remains. Again, But the Realm Remains is not a real card that belongs in the top tier. Is Take Up the Sword better than Azora High? I think so. Because, again, Azora High is a panic test. Panic test, you might argue, Clarence, you just said that Regroup and Reform and Sudden Retreat are not good. You're not getting attacked. Why is Azora High up here? That's a good point. That's a good point. I guess it's because Azora High is better than these cards because it's guaranteed damage, right? Like, Regroup and Reform is not going to see you damage, but it's going to heal you, which is kind of similar. So that's actually a good argument. Maybe Azora High should go down. What's the Forgotten Fellowship do again? I think I'm going to pull this down. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. For the same reason, if you're not getting attacked, you might take panic tests from the crown, maybe, so it's got more value than Regroup and Reform and Sudden Retreat. But it probably shouldn't be a keep. Yeah, that was too highly evaluated. Is it better than Forgotten Fellowship? This is the March or Retreat card. No, I think it's worse. But I'm happy with it being in tier 2. Like, maybe keep it. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to settle on this for the first 7 cards. So again, this is just my initial gut reactions to where I think the cards are in terms of strength. And we'll see after we get some practice games in. So I know this is mainly a painting channel to keep people painting, but I do play a lot as well. So hopefully you can get some insight as to how my brain goes into the game. So I think we'll leave the video off here, folks. And it'll be interesting to come back after a few weeks and see how I feel about the cards. So hopefully you enjoyed today's content. Again, I'll try and post up little mini videos while I'm on vacation. And then when I come back, we'll get to the basing of those peasants. Have a great day, y'all. Hope you're doing well. Hope you keep painting, keep chugging away. 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever you can do. Let's get some paint on the table, folks. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.